Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway. Today I'm looking at a brand new locomotive release by Accurascale. It's been a good long while since we last saw a major new locomotive release by Accurascale. I don't think I've reviewed one this year even, so a good long while, but it seems now things are starting to move again. We've heard that the book jumpers are on their way to be delivered soon, so that's exciting for the steam enthusiasts, me included. But today we're looking at something exciting for the diesel enthusiasts, and that is this, the heavily anticipated Accurascale Class 50. Also known as the Hoovers, apparently because they had a noisy fan or something on the inside that sounded a bit like a vacuum cleaner, and thus the nickname was born. So I ordered this locomotive from Derail's Models, which is one of my favourite retailers, but unfortunately I was contacted by them to say, at least for them, the Class 50 had been delayed for a while and that I'd have to wait. Now that put me in a difficult position because I love Derail's Models. I find them incredibly supportive towards their customers, me included, on many occasions, and I want to support those as well. But also, I do these reviews for my job, and obviously a delay of a week or two can be quite bad for business. So as much as I hated to do it, I had to cancel my order with Derail's Models and replace it with a different retailer who did have them in stock already. And I should say I've heard from a couple of friends who work in the industry in retail, and they have said that Accurascale could be better when it comes to the distribution side of their models. I've heard from a couple of different people actually that other manufacturers do this quite a lot better. Other brands with a similar sized range delivering a similar number of products, they do seem to be more on the ball and more efficient when it comes to actually distributing their models. And a big name that crops up is Rapido. So shout out to Rapido. Apparently they are brilliant to work with. So yeah, as great as Accurascale's models are, it sounds as though there is some room for improvement on the distribution side of things, making sure all of the retailers get what they've ordered in a reasonable amount of time. But anyway, we're talking about the Class 50 today, really looking forward to seeing this. Price-wise, this is a little bit more expensive than the likes of the Class 31 and the Class 66 and the Deltic and the 37, did I already say that, was for me. Those models used to cost £169.99. The price for this now is £189.99. And I've seen a lot of conspiracies about that. A lot of people are convinced that Accurascale just kept their prices low to begin with until they've sort of got us by the, well, until they've got us. And then they're going to creep the prices up once they've got a loyal customer base. But I have to say I've not really seen any evidence that that is the case yet. That old price of £169.99 comes from 2022 and the release of the Deltic, their first locomotive. And if we adjust that price for inflation over the following 3 years, obviously it's now 2025, that brings the price to just over £190, £192, something like that. So if we adjust for inflation, the price of a typical Accurascale diesel actually hasn't gone up at all. So while it is true that the price technically has gone up, that's because money is worth less now, and not because Accurascale have jacked the prices up. It's actually come down a little bit if we adjust for inflation. So, interested to see what this is like. Obviously, Accurascale have set very high standards with their locomotives of the past. So will this match them? Let's hope so. Affiliate links in the description if there's any left. Availability is getting a little bit low now, but that suggests that there might be a second batch in the future. So yeah, keep an eye out if you're interested in 50s. Here we go. And I have to say, it feels very good to have my meaty paws on another one of these massive Accurascale boxes. Like I say, I think it has been a good long while. And let me tell you, this one seems like an absolute beast. It is the size and weight of an O-scale locomotive, really. Cannot wait to get this Class 50 in my hands. Anyway, let me show you the end of the box. So by the time I ordered this, my amount of choice had gone right down, but I did manage to get one, as you can obviously see. So this is the BR Class 50 locomotive. It's number 5006 Neptune, a named locomotive. Wonder if this will have etched nameplates. Silly question, it's Accurascale, I'm sure it will. It's ACC 2210 in the BR blue, and it is Era 7. And that is more or less all the box tells us. I'm sure there's going to be a small novel on the inside to tell us more. So let's open this up and see exactly what we do get inside here. So standard Accurascale packaging, that shows things have not changed, nice and familiar. Let's open this up and take a first look then. Here we go. Aha, sure enough. Yep, we've got quite a meaty information pack here. So let's jump in and see what we've got here. So, top piece, see what this is to start with. British Rail or English Electric Class 50 locomotive. Unpacking, so this looks like generic information except for the photo on the front. Oh, look at this. I love these things. When I've got the room, I'm going to have a row of these on my wall, I reckon. A massive exploded diagram. Just look at all of the parts. We'll see all of these details in just a moment. There's the mechanism, massive, presumably 5-pole motor with dual flywheels driving both of the bogies. And there's a bit more on the mechanism here. You can see the bogies themselves down here with their wiper pickups and what looks like gears to all axles, hopefully. Yeah, it's a marvellously complex loco. Anyway, post-1970 locomotives, revised cab and factory fitted parts. Okay, so slight variation there. Scale wheels, you've got a few options with these. Obviously, you can just use the standard wheels if you want, but if you want EM or P4 wheels, those are available to buy separately, and you can even adjust the ride height of the loco to accommodate those wheel sets even more realistically. So DCC decoder access, apparently, yep, we've got another magnetic roof panel to give you access to the socket. That's great. There's switches on the blanking plate apparently, and there's a whole suite of buffer beam details here which you can fit as well. Nice to see a good clear diagram showing that. And then what's on the back? All right, a bit about lubrication here, general use acknowledgements, removing the body shell. So it looks like a clipped on body shell. I'll do that later on. And there's also a driver fitting guide as well. So if you wanted to add crew to this loco, there is a way that you can do that, which is great. Okay, that's the bit about the model. This is what I was looking for. Look at this. This is what Accurascale are known for. Class 50 model locomotives in the form of a real-life Class 50 manual. So I won't go into all of this. You'll have to buy one for yourself and look. But yeah, the same production quality that we've come to expect from Accurascale. A full background, full information on the Class 50 in real life. Absolutely incredible. I don't know how many pages this is. A lot. Looks like we've got 25 pages here. I mean, that's just unprecedented, isn't it? So fantastic. And then we've got a list of DCC decoder functions. I know this is some people's cup of tea, so if you want to look at that, feel free to pause it. More on the back. Yeah, there we go. So that might be useful to some, but I think for me for now, I want to see this thing. So beautifully packaged, sturdy foam as always. Very good to see. Here we have it. Well, underneath this, which is underneath the sleeve. So lifting the weight. Oh, this is a heavy one. Yeah. I mean, it's not a surprise because all of the Accurascale locos are heavy, but this one is too, which is great. So let's see what this diabolical warning's about. Here it is. You must read. I won't read this in a boisterous voice because I always do that. It's annoying and repetitive and deeply unnecessary, but I will read whatever it is. So let's have a look at that. So, all right, yeah, this is just the usual one about not using old controllers, making sure you're using something compatible. That's fine. Another one, another diabolical warning. This is about the switches located underneath blah, blah, blah. Due to the complex lighting arrangements of the Class 50, these must be set depending on how you'll be operating your locomotive. There you go. Thank goodness I found this in time before doing irreparable damage. Anyway, right, where are the accessories then? They've been laid like an egg at the bottom. Oh, 2 accessories packs. All right. So loads of painted details here. That's great to see. We've got plows that you can fit optionally if you want. All of the buffer beam details described in the instructions, although no couplings or anything. So I assume those have been pre-fitted. NEM couplings, that is. We do have movable screw-link couplings by the looks of it. So yeah, not no couplings, just no NEMs in the accessories pack. Very, very good. So lots of options there, and then I know what this is going to be. Oh, we can't see them. Oh yeah, we can, almost. Hang on. If I pull them out, there you have it. We've got the Neptune nameplates, which are not just printed with ink onto a flat plate. The border and the lettering itself is actually physically etched onto this piece so that it stands out. It's got a nice bit of relief. As always, from Accurascale, a very, very good quality nameplate there. Fantastic. Right, and the loco herself. Let's get a sense of the finish of the paint job and also the weight. I'm curious to see how this is going to compare with other Accurascale locos in terms of weight. Feels like a very heavy one holding the box, but it's hard to say until you've got the loco in your hands. Okay, ready to reveal the finish? Let's do this. Peeling back. Ooh, very vibrant. Very vibrant. Look at that. And look at the fan as well. That's interesting, isn't it? A yellow painted fan. It certainly stands out. I don't know if this loco has a working fan or not. I would guess maybe it does. But again, I don't know. We shall see. Right, lifting. Is this heavy? Yes. Massively. I don't know if it's going to break any Accurascale records. That Class 60 certainly was a heavy beast, but it's heavy. It's heavy, I can say that, and wow, this is a beauty. It's beautifully produced. There's so much going on here. Separate details, and we're going to see all of those in just a second. Obviously, decorated effects, that kind of thing. And of course, the rich colours. Yeah, just beautifully painted. So on first glance, this looks very, very good indeed, but I will need to pop this on the scales, figure out what this weighs, and then take a much closer look at this loco to see what it's built like, see what details it's got, see if this is worth the money. So we'll do that, but first let's just have a bit of brief history on the Class 50s in real life. The BR Class 50 was made up of exactly 50 diesel-electric Coco locomotives built between 1967 and 1968. The Class 50 was intended to replace passenger steam locomotives on the West Coast Main Line at an impressive 100 miles per hour. To save time in the design process, the Class 50 was heavily based on the existing Class 55 or Deltics, except the Class 50 would feature just one 16-cylinder engine, which was similar to the ones used in the Class 40. The Class 50 had a power output of 2,700 brake horsepower, and they were indeed capable of 100 miles per hour. As the class aged, they were displaced a couple of times. The first was when the West Coast Main Line was electrified and new Class 87 electric locomotives took over their duties. Then again in 1977, following the introduction of the Intercity 125, the Class 50 was refurbished to address the reliability problems of the class, and to also bring it up to modern standards, of course. This gave them a new lease of life, allowing most of them to be used well into the 1990s. By this point, though, the class was again plagued by reliability issues, and by 1994, the final member of the class had been withdrawn. They still have a real railway presence today, though, with no less than 18 surviving under preservation. And there she is, Accurascale's brand new Class 50. And this, as you can clearly see, you probably don't need me to tell you, is an absolutely tremendous model. It is impeccably detailed, I think possibly more so than we've ever seen before, for reasons I'll get into. The paintwork on the whole is fantastic too. Again, that's fairly clear to see. On the whole, this looks like a good all-rounder. That is my first impression. I've been studying this for a good while now, and every time I look at it, I feel like I notice something new. So I'm going to try and go over everything. If I miss something major though, do comment down below and let me know. Weight-wise then, this is about average for an Accurascale locomotive, by which I mean you could probably use this as a dumbbell and do weightlifting with it. So it weighs in at 687 grams, which is more than Accurascale's Class 92 and the 37, to give a couple of examples, but it is less than the Class 60 and the Class 66, and weirdly it's over 100 grams lighter than the Deltic, despite being about a similar size. So perhaps it's not quite as heavy as the Deltic was, but is it heavy enough? At 687 grams, I should say it certainly is. Let's talk a little bit about the decoration then. So as we've already seen, the finish is tremendous on this. Accurascale seemed to nail this right from day one, really. Nice compromise between matte and gloss, not too glossy so that it looks like a plastic toy, but also not completely flat either. Yeah, very, very good finish and loads of decorated effects here. We've got the yellow painted ends, the joins between the yellow and the blue being absolutely perfect, and not just simple lines either. You can see we've got curves and different shapes in this. Very, very well done. And of course the classic BR double arrows here. Again, they look absolutely tremendous. We've got the Neptune nameplate, which has been printed onto here. Even that print looks excellent. Although, of course, because this is such a premium model, there is an etched version of this that you can fit instead. We've got small details picked out along the body, as you can see, including these danger signs. Again, all very nicely printed. Here is the running number on the side of the cab, as well as the little board beneath it with the stats for the loco on there. Again, all beautiful prints, as you'd fully expect. Down below, we've got a lot of details. A lot of these are separately fitted as well as being separately painted, but as you can see, this really brings a level of complexity to the model. And then even on the bogies, we've got the axle boxes picked out and some of the little pipes here, which have been painted white as well. On the ends of the loco though, things aren't quite so good, and one of my viewers, Simon, got in touch with me to tell me about something he'd noticed, and he is absolutely right. So it's to do with these orange parts. Some of them, as you can see, are painted, as you can clearly see, and they look good. Other parts appear to be just moulded in the orange colour and not painted, and then we've got the sort of black wiring here which has been painted onto that, which doesn't look very good. In the first place, the colour of these parts doesn't quite match, which is distracting actually. Once I noticed this, I couldn't really get over it. And also the plastic parts have a noticeably different finish. They're just kind of plasticky looking. They don't have the same painted finish, and they kind of look a bit cheap and toy-like compared with the properly painted parts. So I'm a bit surprised to see that really from Accurascale. Obviously all of these parts are in the same area, they're next to each other, so the difference here is going to be obvious. I don't know why this has been done like this, but it's not great. Obviously, on the grand scheme of things, that's a very minor issue, but again, I think it is one worth pointing out. Lots of other decorated effects on the ends as well, as you can see. The rest of them do seem to have been done very, very nicely. Right, let's jump in and talk about the level of detail then, because there's a few new things I'm seeing here. First of all, we've got a mass of bogie detail, and looking at the bogies here, you're actually seeing multiple layers of different parts. So look, we've got some springs which are recessed way back in the bogie with full relief to them. That looks great. And then there's obviously springs closer to us as well in the foreground. Very, very cool. We've got beautiful moulding on the axle boxes, of course, separately fitted parts. We've got the real chains here, which look good, but the instructions don't mention how to get those off in the body removal section. So yeah, that's filled me with dread rather than wonder, but it is nice to see those. Separate steps, and even the grille on top of the steps here. These are separate parts. Absolutely incredible, etched parts, I assume. The underframe is tremendous as well. We've got loads of separate details here, as you can see. And in fact, pointless as it is, you can best appreciate the underframe by flipping the loco upside down, where we've got all sorts of wiring and different parts. This is a real etched grille. Have we ever seen a separately fitted etched grille on the base of a loco before? I don't recall. That's probably new to me. Absolutely incredible underframe detail. And even the bases of the bogies have full moulded detail on them. That is not something you see dreadfully often. Very, very cool. The side of the loco has a lot of detail too. I think a lot of these grills are just a part of the moulding, but obviously as a brand new tooled Accurascale loco, the quality of the moulding is absolutely excellent. Some of these do have a bit more depth to them though, so perhaps these ones are separately fitted, at least some of them seem to be. But either way, the effect is absolutely fantastic. The cab doors are very interesting as well, firstly because the handrails are particularly fine, and where some manufacturers choose to make these parts out of plastic and they're flimsy and kind of cheap feeling with visible flashing on them sometimes, these are good sturdy wire parts, perfectly straight, perfectly formed. Very, very good. And looking at the cab doors, these door handles are separate parts. which is interesting, isn't it? What a step up in complexity. And that of course means that the door handles have more relief to them than they would if they were just a part of the moulding, but also you can clearly see where the parts fit into a hole. So I don't know, in some ways it's an improvement, in other ways it's a slight downgrade in seamlessness maybe. But yeah, it is impressive no matter how you look at it. And even the window, look at that, the window frame has been separately painted on each door. Tremendous to see. And then on the ends, we've got loads and loads of detail. We've looked at a lot of this already, but there's more wire handrails, which are all separately fitted and immaculately fitted as well. That's the other thing. The quality of the build is tremendous. There is a lot of separate detail on this thing, and I've yet to see an issue. Hopefully this thing will hold itself together throughout the review, but so far it has. Very, very good. We've got sprung buffers. Look at that beautiful feature there. More separately fitted etched, I think, grills above the buffers. I guess they're less grills, more sort of steps to stand on, but either way, separately fitted and etched, absolutely amazing. Separate wipers fitted to the front of the windows as well. Very nice and fine parts. And hopefully this loco has working lighting as well. I mean, I'm sure it's going to. We'll see that in action later on. I guess we ought to take a look inside the cab, which again is just absolutely amazing, showing up quite a few other manufacturers. We've got separately fitted details which have been separately painted. We've got a fully detailed instrument panel. We've got controls and fully printed detail across the back of the cab as well. Goodness gracious me. And obviously if you switch the cab lights on and you've got crew maybe fitted inside there, that is going to look tremendously realistic. These are very, very good cabs. And then up on top of the loco, even here, there's quite a lot to see. We've got another separately fitted etched grille where the fan is, and obviously the fan is a separately fitted part. And if I just blow some air into there, we can see that it is able to rotate. Whether this fan is motorized like it was on the Class 31, I don't know though. We'll find out later on. Then look across the top of the loco. Can you see where that separately fitted hatch is for the DCC socket access? Well, maybe you can, but it's very, very difficult to see. So it's a lot more seamless than it was on the Class 31. Not something you would notice during regular running unless you were really looking for it. Then of course we've got separately fitted parts. We've got this vent here, which seems to be a separate part. Different details picked out as well. Yeah, even on the roof we've got a tremendous amount of detail, and that's not to mention the moulding quality as well, which again is really, really solid here. So I'm sure there's some details that I've missed. I mean, I didn't talk about the window into the engine room there, where there is clearly detail behind the glazing. That is worth mentioning, I think, isn't it? And yeah, truly, wherever you look, there is a mass of detail. I guess I didn't mention the tension lock couplings yet. These are pre-fitted and they are kinematic and incredibly smooth as well. So not expecting to see any issues with those, although of course I will test those in just a second. So hopefully that gives you a decent overview of what we're dealing with in terms of detail here. Now comes the moment of truth. Let's get this down onto the track. Let's see what this is like on the inside as well as the outside. See how easy this is going to be to maintain, and most importantly of all, of course, we'll see how this thing runs. So there she is down onto the track. What a beautiful Class 50 this is. You know, I'm not a massive Class 50 fan like some people are, but seeing this model, I can totally understand what people see in locomotives like this. What a tremendous beast this is. Anyway, I've had this running, I've filmed the initial test and the running in, etc. I'll show you all of that in just a second. Now though, I want to talk about the mechanism, which I've investigated since then. So yeah, it's a good mechanism, to give you a basic summary. Very, very good, built to last, no major complaints. Two issues I did come across: poor serviceability. It's a complex loco, there's lots of details getting in the way of your usual servicing tasks, and poor instructions. Well, not poor instructions, the instructions are okay, they're well written, etc., but they're incomplete, which is frustrating because Accurascale quite obviously know what they're doing, they've got their heads screwed on. Better instructions doesn't seem like a lot to ask for, but I'll explain all of that in just a second. So the base keeper plates are clipped on, they're not screwed on, and so to access the axles and the gears and the pickups, etc., you've got to access all of these clips around the base keeper plates to take the base keeper off, which is okay actually. The placement of the clips is reasonably sensible. Not a big deal, but there's loads of detail in the way, mainly the brakes. It's messy trying to get these off, and like I say, a bit of guidance in the instructions on how to do this would have been really useful. As I always say, eventually you're going to want to gain access to the pickups and to the axles to clean and service them. Might not be today, might not be tomorrow, might be in 10 years time, but you'll want to eventually. It's not easy to do with this loco. Anyway, we do have helical gears driving each axle of each bogie, so this loco is all-wheel drive, which is very good. We've got proper separate bearings on the bogies, so same as usual, good quality, built to last. And if I pull out one of these axles, you can see that we've got wiper pickups touching each wheel, so it's all-wheel pickup as well as all-wheel drive. That's very good to see. Now, body removal, this is where the instructions really did let me down. There's a lot that the instructions don't tell you about this process. In fact, all they say is, due to the detailed nature of the model, we discourage regular removal of the locomotive body shell. However, this can be undertaken by disengaging the 4 clips as shown below. If only that was true. Yes, you do obviously have to disengage the 4 clips, but what they did not mention was that these chains also have to be disengaged. If you don't disengage those before trying to remove the body, you'll pull and break the plastic parts holding those chains on. Not good, but fortunately I did realise that because I noticed the chains before trying to remove the body. What I didn't realise is that these connectors underneath the loco also need to be popped out of place before you can remove the body. I did not realise that when I tried to remove the body, and I was very lucky not to damage those parts. So yeah, better instructions desperately needed. How can they provide 25 pages about the prototype but fail to provide basic information about the model? I think they need to focus more on what's important when it comes to that. No reason why a bit more guidance on this couldn't be provided. Now obviously body removal is not absolutely necessary. If all you want to do is access the DCC socket or decoder, there is of course the hatch in the top of the loco, which makes this very easy, and that's a great bit of design. If you do want to remove the body, which you might want to do to fit crew into the cab for instance, this is this is how I do it. Children's glue spreaders stuck into the sides, disengage the 4 clips as shown in the instructions, and the body comes off quite easily. There are pogo pins connecting the headlights and the cab lights to the chassis, so you've not got to wrestle with wires. That's really, really good to see. And yes, we do have a motor connected to the fan. I didn't know if we would or not. That fan seemed awfully loose, but there's no gearbox here. It is the motor directly driving the fan, which explains why my breath was able to turn the fan. The fan was switched off on the PCB as it was with the Class 31, so I'm going to switch that on now and hopefully we'll see that work later on. Obviously the fan was basically unusable on analog with the Class 31 because there was no resistor there. It just got the full, by the looks of it, track voltage straight to the fan and it just went a million miles per hour. It was loud like a vacuum cleaner, unusable. I guess if it's like that on this Class 50, and here's a hint, it is, that's a little bit more understandable because they were called Hoovers in real life, although I'm not sure the real fans did quite what this one does, but either way, whatever. Here's a look at the side of the chassis, which is incredible. You can see here loads of details which were not obvious from the outside of the model, and obviously a lot of these details are lost on the variant that I've got, but other examples do show this off a lot better. Another thing I noticed is that some of these vents on the side of the loco are actually see-through. So with the right lighting, you could actually see some of this detail behind them, which again is mightily impressive. I keep looking at this loco and discovering things I didn't notice before about it. Outstanding. We've also got LEDs above these areas of detail. The LEDs seem to be on the top of the circuit board rather than on the bottom. I don't know why you'd want that. Maybe that's to reduce the intensity of the LEDs or something. But anyway, they don't work on analog, I don't think, so I can't test that. If you've got a digital version of this, how do those lights look? Can you see them placed on the top of the PCB as they are? Anyway, there's lots of other lights as well. Of course, there's lights on the ends. These are the tail lights. The headlights are mounted up in the top of the body, of course. Here's a better look at the instrument panel, which is marvellously detailed for 00 scale. And yes, this is all lit as well. So when you apply power to the loco, the instrument panels light up. Phenomenal level of detail here. Unlike the Class 31, there are screws holding this PCB down, which is a nice bonus, isn't it? How pleasant, screws holding the thing on. But yeah, that's a lot better. There's also what looks like a speaker pre-fitted underneath this circuit board, which is good. The board I couldn't lift up very much because of the wires, which were quite taut, but underneath here you can just about see we've got the large motor and the dual flywheels. I believe this is a 5-pole motor. Here's the DCC socket, of course, which we've already seen. Again, if you want to just access this, there's a much easier way than just removing the body. You've got that hatch, like I say. And then finally, the back-to-back gauging came in at between 14.2 and 14.4 millimeters, which is comfortably close to the standard, so not a problem with that. So the mechanism is excellent. It's got all of the good quality features I'd hoped to see. The only downsides would be the serviceability, the accessibility of the mechanism, and also the instructions, which are missing a few bits of vital information, which could mean that modelers end up damaging this model unnecessarily. So pay extra attention if you do decide to remove the body. But anyway, that's it for mechanism. Let me show you what the actual performance was like now, and for that we've got to jump back in time. Right, it is the big moment. This loco looks tremendous, but is it going to have performance to match? Well, let's see. Let's give it some juice. Forwards direction. Is she alive? Here we go, turning up. Yes, she's alive. Quite sleepy though. That was 50% power. That is 50% power. So not a quick loco at the moment, but then again, I suppose this is her first ever run, and she's got to come to life before she runs at her best. But yeah, already she seems to be speeding up, which is good. I guess while we wait for her to wake up a little bit, we'll talk about the lights. So the headlights are coming on. The headlights are quite dim because the lenses have been painted over, so they're not particularly bright. The tail lights, though, they have a fully transparent lens, and they look a lot better. In fact, it's a marvellous effect, that, isn't it, the red lights? Yeah, they look very, very good. On analog, as I'm running this now, I'm not seeing other lighting. I'm not seeing any cab lights come on, nor am I seeing any motion in the fan. So it might be that I have to enable the fan. It might be that it hasn't got that effect on this particular model. You guys will know the answer to that by now, because you will have seen the mechanism section. But yeah, it's coming to life a little bit. Let me run by then at half power. Show you exactly what that's like for now, and we'll see if it speeds up as it runs in. So that's half power. It's quite slow really for a 100 miles per hour diesel. Can it go faster at full speed? Yep, a little bit faster. Still doesn't, I don't know if that's scale 100 miles per hour though. Seems a little bit on the slow side. Now, is that because it's just been geared to run a little slowly, or do we have a power problem here? Let's see. Well, let's see if there's torque. So if I put my finger in front of the buffers and turn up to 50, it should be able to turn its wheels. And it can't. So I'm going to go ahead and say at the moment, before running this in, it seems quite sluggish. Try again. And it's definitely pushing. I can feel it pushing, but the motor is not able to turn there. And, you know, this is a lighter loco than the Deltic by over 100 grams. So that is a bit of a surprise. But again, maybe running in will improve it. Now, what about the crawl? Let's see this straight out of the box. Here we go, turning up very, very gradually. Usually, Accurascale's locos are great for this, but let's see if this is. Ooh. Yeah, it's moving. Impossibly slowly, but it is moving. So there we go, it's got something to it. It's got some torque at the low speeds. Can I smoothly accelerate? Somewhat. Yeah, there's room for improvement on the smoothness there, but for a first run right out of the box, I would say that's reasonably impressive. The other impressive thing is the sound. You hear that? Usually when you run a loco at this sort of speed, you can hear some motor noise, but there's nothing. Look, I'll put the microphone right up to it. Can't hear a thing. It's a very quiet engine, very, very quiet, but one that seems to need some running in. I would expect a Class 50 to run a little bit quicker than this. Hopefully the torque will improve once the motors had chance to bed in as well. So yeah, fingers crossed we see some improvements. How does it get on around the track then? Will it handle all of my collection of curves and such without issue? Well, let's find out. 50%, off she goes. Right, any slowdowns around the curves? This will be interesting because at the moment there doesn't seem to be much torque here. Not as much as I was expecting, but yes, a little bit of a slowdown. So I would say this isn't performing quite as well as we've seen some Accurascale locos perform out of the box. But that doesn't matter too much as long as the performance does improve with running in. So, you know, hopefully this loco will be transformed by running 30 minutes in either direction. Otherwise, I will have concerns mainly about the torque of the thing, but also about the kind of sluggish way in which this runs. So hopefully this will improve. I'll let this run in fully then. Then we'll come back, I'll test this with some rolling stock, and of course we'll finish off the review. All right, don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. All right, folks, I am back. And you know what? Things are looking quite a bit better. As this has run in, I've noticed improvements. It's not slowing down so much now, well, if at all, really, around the second radius, which is great. That moves it more in line with the other Accurascale locos. And its general running just seems to be a little bit less sluggish now, which is also good. So interested to do a bit more testing. Obviously, since the last time you saw this running, I've enabled the fan, and yeah, unfortunately it's the same situation as with the Class 31 on analog. You apply power to the loco, the fan basically becomes a vacuum cleaner. It spins at thousands of RPM, it becomes a blur, it makes a massive noise. I wouldn't recommend using this on analog. It's a pity that Accurascale couldn't have improved that after the Class 31. Some sort of resistor in series with that switch on the blanking plate might have reduced the speed of that fan to something more realistic. But hey, at least we've got a working fan. It's just a pity that it's not that usable on analog. Anyway, let me show you what the speed is like now, because I think it is a little bit quicker than it was when I first ran it. So let me give it 50% and run by. Here we go. It's still not a quick loco by any means, and actually didn't reach its full speed there. It continued speeding up. So let's do it back. Yeah, it's faster, I think. And maybe the full speed looks a little bit more realistic now. I'm not going too far this way because I've got rolling stock set up. But yeah, at the higher speeds, it's starting to look a little bit more like a 100 miles per hour loco now. And the noise, by the way, is the fan. You hear that? Yeah, I'm not kidding. Well, I suppose it's living up to its nickname of Hoover, isn't it? Might turn the thing upside down and use it as a track vacuum. But anyway, I don't know. That's hilarious. Anyway, the torque I don't think has improved. I tested this a moment ago off camera, so fingers in front of the buffers, up to 50%. Now you can hear a lot of noise, but that's the fan, of course. The wheels of the loco don't appear to be turning, at least not much. Very slowly they are, but struggling quite a lot. Now, this isn't quite normal, and to prove it, I set up the Class 66 from Accurascale, which I would consider to be a good runner with plenty of torque, and of course it's a heavier engine as well, so you'd expect it to have less, but it has more. And yeah, this did a lot better on this test. And this test was shot today, of course, with my track in its current condition, same with the controller, just to show the difference. So the torque isn't brilliant on this loco. It's better than it was when I first started running it, so running in is essential. But yeah, not as powerful as some of Accurascale's other locos. But running in has made this acceptable, at least now. And so with that, I've set up a rake of, how many is here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 large open wagons, which I hope will demonstrate that this loco can haul a decent amount without slowing down dreadfully. So with that, let's go and test the couplings. The couplings are great on this. They don't droop down too much. They've got great kinematics. Hopefully they will function correctly. Right, off we go. Start that fan and hopefully it doesn't take off. And I've just remembered I didn't retest the crawl, so let's do that now by backing up to the wagons slowly. It was pretty good before, and it still is now. It's able to creep forwards ridiculously slowly, or backwards, as is the case right now. Let's accelerate a little bit so this doesn't take the rest of my life. Yeah, it's very, very controllable. Lost my nerve and stopped it. Do we get them? Yeah, look at that. That's a good sign. Yeah, both hooks engaged. Nary a problem with that. So it's got some rolling stock. Let's set off around the layout at 50% because this loco doesn't look too fast at 50. Let's see how she gets on. There we go. As you can see, not looking sluggish at all now, moving these wagons very, very effortlessly. All right, and on the middle line, I've got another staple Accurascale locomotive coming in now. It is the Class 66, which was cheaper than the Class 50, that's true, but I think the Class 50 has upstaged this in terms of detail and features, but the performance is still better on this, at least with my two examples. I prefer the 66 the way it runs. It's just got a bit more about it, a bit more oomph, a bit more power. Yeah, still prefer this as a runner. In every other area, I think the 50 has it beaten though. And then on the inside line, we have what I think is my second newest Accurascale loco, the Class 31, which also sounds like it's about to take off into orbit, but it's not. It's just got another Accurascale working fan. Possibly my least favourite of the Accurascale locos, this. It's still excellent in many ways, but I had a few more issues with this. I'm pleased to say the Class 50, which is just about to come around behind it, so it made it then. Yeah, a lot of those issues have been solved with the 50. Much better model, I think, in just a few minor ways, but makes a big difference. Right, off it goes with a bit of a passenger train. Let's observe the 50 with its load then. All right, here she goes. The fan gobbling up every drop of air it can. And look at that. The transformation after running in is quite something. I mean, it was slowing down more than that when it was running light. So what I would say is if you get one of these and straight out of the box it seems like it's faulty, don't panic straight away. Give it a good 30 minutes in both directions and try it again and see if it improves, because the torque of this thing has improved massively since I ran mine in. And obviously different locos behave differently, your mileage will vary, but this is a much, much better runner now than it was when I first started it. So little pro tip. That's something that can help a lot. But you know what? I am really, really chuffed with this. Well, I shouldn't say chuffed, it's a diesel. What's the right word for that? I don't know. Brummed. Sound like a moron now. Anyway, you know what I mean. I'm pleased with it. Let's use that word. It looks fantastic. It's got so many details, many of which you will never see as the thing runs along. But if one day you do decide to pull out your magnifying glass and inspect the loco, then suddenly you're party to a whole new world that you couldn't see before, particularly inside the cab and behind the grills and all of that sort of stuff. It is truly magnificent, and some people might say we don't need that amount of detail, why waste the money on it? But the thing is, this is no more expensive than locos from other brands that don't have these details. £190 is quite competitive these days, as much as it is a lot of money. So why not? If Accurascale can add all of this awesome stuff and not make this loco a £400 monster, then why not indeed? So I think they've done a cracking job with this. The number of features is outstanding. Everything except the fan seems to work really well. And I hear on digital, on DCC, this is even more impressive, which of course it will be. So, thoroughly enjoyed this one. What a cracking looking loco. Best Class 50 I think I've ever seen in 00. It's not saying a lot. My other Class 50 is a Lima model, which I won't make fun of. You know, they had their day. They were very impressive at the time. But now this is the bee's knees instead. And goodness me, what a difference. So, beautiful loco. Can I recommend it? Yeah, absolutely. Let's have some ratings then for Accurascale's brand new Class 50, and I'm pleased to say I'm giving this a much better rating than I gave the last Accurascale diesel. I think that was the Class 31. Yeah, generally I would say this is a far superior model to that, at least in my experience with this particular example. So here are the ratings for my Class 50. Level of detail, absolutely tremendous. I've given it a near perfect 4.5 star. It has so many details and features. Features wise, it's got lights, loads of lights as well, cab lights, headlights, tail lights, lights in the instrument panels, lights in the engine rooms, absolutely crazy. It's got the working fan. Doesn't work that well on analog, but it does work if you want it to, which is great. And then detail wise, loads of separate etched grills, etched other details as well, wire handrails, phenomenal underframe and bogie detail, probably about the best I've seen. The paintwork is also great as well, loads of lovely picked out details, etched nameplates if you want to fit those. It just doesn't get the full 5-star because of that issue with the painting on the ends of the model. Whether this was deliberate to save some money or an oversight at the factory, perhaps the factory did this and Accurascale missed it during the sampling, I don't know. But that one small area of the model, and it is a small area, but it did let the finesse of the model down just a little bit, to the point where I don't feel I should give this 5-star, but it is very close. Performance, I'm pleased to say, improved massively with running in. I was a little bit concerned to start with because it was showing a real lack of torque when I first ran it, which it kind of still is now, but not to the point where it's affecting everyday performance. And it was noticeably slowing down around my second radius curves, which is something that a lot of Accurascale's diesels, even the heavier ones than this, never really did, and that's what I loved about those Accurascale diesels. But having run in now, the torque isn't absolutely amazing. It still doesn't spin its wheels great when I try the torque test, but even with a load, it does not slow down over the second radius curves now. So performance a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It does crawl nicely, that's very good. It's nice and quiet and smooth as well. In fact, very quiet, extremely quiet. It just doesn't get 5-star because it doesn't have the greatest torque in the world. I have seen better, and that fan, at least on analog, isn't great. It's very noisy, it goes at 1,000,000 miles per hour, or RPM I guess. A resistor added to the blanking plate would have improved that a lot, and my friend Mike showed with the Class 31 that that really does improve it a lot. That improvement has not been made though. So again, can't quite give it 5-star on performance, but equally no major complaints. The pulling power is up to 55 coaches on straight and level track, or about 1 Newton. Yeah, that's pretty good. This weighs 687 grams. It's not as much as the Deltic or the Class 66, but it's still absolutely adequate. And 55 coaches, obviously it's going to be less than that on gradients and curves, but even half of that is pretty darn good for a model Class 50, so no complaints at all on the pulling power. It's very good. The mechanism equally is excellent. It's top quality, built to last, etc, etc. It just doesn't get 5-star because it's a little unserviceable. The instructions are incomplete really. They fail to mention a lot of what you've got to do to remove the body and also to remove the base keeper plate, so that's not great. Lots of details in the way to remove both the body and the base keeper plate. You can get away without having to remove the body, so that's fair enough. But in 10 years time, these Class 50s will need their pickups cleaning, they will need some fresh oil putting on the gears, people will need to access the axles eventually, and having all of that brake rigging and all of those parts in the way and the clips instead of screws isn't great for serviceability. So yeah, it's a complex model, I understand that. We have seen more serviceable models from Accurascale though. Otherwise, it's got the lot. All-wheel pickup, all-wheel drive, proper bearings, 5-pole motor, dual flywheels, a full suite of lighting, pre-fitted speaker, pogo pins to connect the lights on the inside of the body so that you haven't got to struggle around with wires removing the body. A lot of the design here is spot on. Generally, it's a good mechanism. Quality then, similarly, I've given 4-star. This is a well-built model. It's nice and heavy. The paint finish is superb, and a lot of the painting is really, really good as well. And this loco has been through hell and back as I tried to disassemble it without proper instructions. So the fact that none of the details have permanently broken off here is a testament to the quality of this model. Obviously, it's a fragile loco. It's got a lot of separate details. You're not going to be able to throw this around without bits breaking. You've got to treat it with a modicum of care. But I think considering how complex it is, the quality is okay. In order for this to get 5-star, I would have preferred to see some screws holding this together rather than just clips, particularly for the body and the base keeper plates, and it would have needed to have had those end details painted a little bit better to get a full 5 on quality. Otherwise, so no major issues. Value for money then, I do think this is a fair value model. £189.99 is the price, which is more expensive than the Class 31, which was £169.99 just last year, so £20 more than that. That's quite a significant increase, but then again, this is a larger locomotive. It's heavier by quite a lot as well, so I think the price makes sense. It's not a bargain like the Deltic is and was at £169.99, but equally it's less than £200 and you do get an awful lot for your money, both in terms of details, features and amount of model. I mean, nearly 700 grams of model, it's quite a lot. So yeah, I think the value is fair. So overall then, that is a score of 8.43 out of 10, which is a grade of A. Very well deserved. Not a perfect model, there are some issues, but I don't see anything here that would make me say don't buy this model. Though if you're interested in a Class 50, I would say this is pretty much the ultimate Class 50 model you're going to be able to find, and Accurascale have done a cracking job with it. Alright then folks, well that will just about do it for my review of Accurascale's brand new Class 50. And yeah, I love doing these Accurascale loco reviews. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter how interested I am in the prototype initially. Once I get that loco out the box and start drinking in what it has to offer, I'm always in love with it by the end of the review, most of the time anyway. And this was no different. Yeah, what a beautiful, beautiful model. So do let me know what your thoughts are on this. Have you got one of these? Which livery did you go for? What has been your experience of its performance on your controller or possibly on digital? Yeah, do let me know how you've gotten on. For now though, I'll say thank you ever so much for watching. If you'd like to try one of these or browse the range, do check out the affiliate links down in the description. But I will leave this one here for now, so thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Alright, cheers folks, have a good one.